Hearing the audio distress call from the boat, that is the boat on which Nolan Wells went to Horn Island. Now, there have been a lot of different accounts about whether he was on the boat when he came back from Horn Island, when he was supposed to come back from Horn Island. He never came back from Horn Island. And you can clearly hear on that version, which we obtained from the Mississippi Department of Marine Research. They released it. It's not something off TikTok or Insta. And that's what you hear. Let me hear 184 one more time, please.
Can
Detail assistance, Vicky speaking. How can I help you?
Hey, we're at the west tip of Horn, and our bilge pump stopped working. We're sinking. Can you all please come? We have a membership.
All right, of course. How far is the water coming up, sir? Can you give me a description? Ankles? Hello?
Hey.
Yes, how far is the water coming up, sir?
It's coming up. We're just sinking. I don't know. Like we're going down now.
All right. So I want to be clear with this one thing, because I know you mentioned before. Is there any chance or any knowledge that you have that anybody deleted stuff from his phone?
Wells' friends told investigators that when they left the island, he had chosen to stay behind with a young woman he'd met there. One friend, when asked about that account directly, said it didn't square with the Nolan he knew, that he'd never known him to separate from the group like that. That contradiction has been sitting in this case from day one, but new reporting adds something sharper.
Nolan was like a brother to me. Nolan lit up every room he walked in. 4th of July, everybody was out there. Nolan rode out on the Triton, and then we had a Palm Beach, 18 Palm Beach. There was 4 guys on that. The rest of the group, which was ranged from maybe 10 to 15 or 16 people on my buddy's tide line.
Yeah, so y'all pretty much having a good. So you guys get ready to leave out of there, getting towed out.
Yeah.
And then where's Nolan in this situation?
Well, Nolan was, the last time I saw Nolan was 3 o'clock, and Nolan was cradling a girl in his arms, Katie. Katie. And Katie, Nolan was sitting there, and the last time I saw him, I looked at Nolan, and Nolan was like shaking his head, laughing, and I was like, dude, you crazy. I was like just joking with him. And but anyway, Nolan, that was the last time I laid eyes on him. But when we were leaving, obviously, no one is getting left at the island that came with us unless they demanded to, be there and asked, this is a very common thing at Horn Island. When you're out there, a lot of people ride out there with someone and in with somebody else all the time. I've done that 100 times. It's a very common thing, but Nolan was sitting by the boat with that Katie girl, and my buddy yelled for Nolan, get on the boat. We're leaving. The boat's having issues. And no, he didn't say that, but he was panicking. Nolan, get the F on the boat. Get on the boat. And Nolan said, no, I'm staying out here. I'm going to ride in with somebody else. And it's not uncommon to hear, but it's not like my buddy asked him one time. My buddy asked Nolan multiple times to get on the boat. Nolan, get on the boat. Get on the boat. We're leaving. If you're coming, you got to come now. And Nolan made a decision to stay out on the island. And like he said,
How many people heard that?
At least 5 everyone that was on our boat right there, because the Palm Beach had already left. My buddy went ahead and went home on the Palm Beach, and 3 guys on the way back. And Nolan wasn't the only person to ride out there with us and in with somebody else. We had multiple people in our group that rode out with us and rode in on someone else's boat. And that, like I said, that's not an uncommon thing to do, a lot of people do that. I could name probably 50 people out there that day that ran out with somebody and ran back in with somebody else. So, it's not like it's an uncommon thing, but it's not like we just left him there, or my friends just left him there. Nolan made a decision to stay on the island after my friends asked him multiple times and told him to get on the boat, and he decided to stay.
And I heard the girl that he was with, Katie, had text somebody that she heard people yelling
Correct.
for Nolan to get on it. Is that true?
And I have a picture of that. She texted my buddy And the next day, everybody was panicking and everybody's texting Katie, because she was obviously seen with Nolan the whole day at the island. Katie sent a message to my buddy the next day and said, this is the last time I saw him, he's really sweet. But she also mentioned that the last time she saw Nolan was when my buddy was yelling at him to get on the boat. And she was right there to see that Nolan decided not to.
Welcome to the Gilchrist experience. Now, Graham and I have sat there and watched this whole piece, and Graham's reaction. Graham's having a problem with his computer. That's why he's not on. But he detected that there was something wrong with that scene. Obviously, what do you guys see wrong there?
Well, I know Attorney Esquire is going to break into this. It's what he does. But I think the first thing is that we see so many different stories coming out. Katie's story is not their story. The information coming out about the calls don't add up. There's just so much to the story. And we always say that there's two legal systems in America, one for Black Americans and one for white Americans. And attorney is going to tell me, Mo is going to tell me if I'm correct, that usually in a situation, if this were reverse, if there were a bunch of Black friends that went out with their one white friend and something mysteriously happened to that one white friend, usually all those Black kids would be put right in jail and they have to prove their innocence.
Yeah.
We're seeing here in this case, the two legal systems in America and how the legal system does not work for us, how we have to continuously fight for justice and that justice is not given to us just because we have all of this history in this country. It is, I want to say, sickening to see at this time in this country, not only the Nolan Wells case, but so many Black bodies being lynched and today. There's so many young people being killed. And the question is, what do we do about it, the civil rights community? We know at the NAACP was an organization birthed out of this. We know that Reverend Al Sharpton, who was our leader and who was on this case, has been fighting these cases for 50 years. And I know that we're taking our pain and turning it into power August 28th with the March on Wall Street. But this has to stop.
On Washington.
On Washington, thank you.
Yeah.
March, I did the Wall Street, so now we're doing Washington. But I think that hopefully the movement can take this energy and turn it into legislation, and that is my hope, and that we can get this MAGA 2.0 regime out of here and get real change. But the reality of it is that people don't realize is that when the Supreme Court is doing all these rollbacks, how policy violence directly affects violence that we see on the street. Blood is being spilt because of what the Supreme Court is doing, the rollbacks when affirmative action and other things. And so this reminds me of the Emmett Till case. We know there's a long history in Mississippi, but Emmett Till was killed. But the year before Emmett Till was killed, we saw the Brown versus Board decision. And so it seems like anytime there's a decision, there's some type of white backlash. And we're experiencing in this time, I want to say nothing I've seen in my lifetime to this degree. We have had our George Floyds. We know what that was like during the pandemic. But it just seems that it's just back to back to back. And I'm grateful for the ministry of Reverend Sharpton that he fights these cases. Some people are saying that, we need young people to stand up. But I'm grateful for his leadership. I think that young people do need to stand up, and we all need our platforms to say something about this case. And there is so much going on of where the evidence is being distorted. So Nolan Wells, they buried him without his throat. We don't know what happened to his throat, why the independent investigation wasn't allowed to investigate every part of him. And so there's just a lot of unanswered questions in this case. And as we're all watching, many of us are losing hope that justice can happen. But we know that if we don't prevail here, it will continue to happen again and again. So we need to fight like hell, figure out what happened, not hope that the information comes out 15 years later, but get the information now, and hopefully galvanized around all of the things that are happening, because Nolan Wells' mysterious death is just a portrayal of what is happening around this country. Our right to mysteriously dying in the same way. And there's all kinds of distortions around it.
Well said, Ron.
Definitely.
Welcome home.
Definitely.
Maurice, now you and Graham have contradict all these statements. For instance, the emergency call, they said, is he dead? They had all these other comments that the operator said, they said that the phone call was on hold before, so they were talking not knowing that they were on the phone. That the emergency people had picked up the phone, and they were talking without knowing. Well, you saw the tape. What do you think?
I've heard this tape a few times.
Oh, okay.
So the problem with these guys is that there is no person besides them that corroborates their version of the event.
Really?
All the evidence, all of the credible evidence points to something different than what it is that they're telling.
Even Katie's story.
Now Katie is saying the complete opposite. That he went back with them, right? They're saying, oh, we begged him to come back.
Katie
with us,
said that. Katie said
that he went back with them. Katie said he didn't stay back with her, right? And they're the only ones saying that. Oh yeah, you see, even right there when that Officer Tom guy asked him, well, did anybody else hear this? Oh no, the 5 of us on the boat heard it. Right? How convenient. The suspects are the only ones who heard one of the people on the boat call him back and say, oh, Nolan, come with us. You got to come with us. Like, how hard is it to stop the boat then and get off if you're so worried about him coming back with you, right? If that's your buddy and you're worried about him making it back safely, you could easily delay your trip by like an hour or something to sit there with him or wait for him while he talks to this supposed woman who he's going off with without his phone and keys, right? If you're a buddy, that's what you do. The problem is they're not his buddies, like how they're saying. You're his buddy, but his parents don't know you like that, right? You're his buddy, but everybody that tries to corroborate your story fails because your story's not making it sense. You're his buddy, but his mother has to find out that you have his phone by using an app while they're searching for him, right? Not knowing that he's dead. You're his buddy, but you lawyer up right away before his body is even found, right? They have this funny call that like they're acting like, oh, the boat is sinking or something like that. But yet they're so calm on the boat, right? They're so calm during the call. Oh yeah, I think we're sinking. Oh yeah, I don't know how much we're sinking though. It's like if your boat is sinking, right? Don't you call 911 or you want people to come out there, right? It doesn't. It seems like something they were trying to do for like an alibi.
And they're saying, is he dead? They're saying, is he dead
on the phone
call.
Now, you can clearly hear it, but again, we're taught to not believe our lying ears here. The real problem, the overarching problem that we're having in this instance is the rise in the South of these, like, I want to call them kind of good old boy bureaucracies, right? There's a trifecta of things that happen when suspicious black deaths occur. It's like, number one, you have the police chiefs out there who don't want to do work to solve a black person's murder. So right away, they jump out in front of the media and they say no foul play whenever there's a black person found dead under suspicious circumstances, right? So that, from the first part, controls the narrative. Then we have a problem with underqualified MEs in these locations too. In many of these deep red states like Mississippi, they are allowed to elect their ME, right? So typically, some of these MEs, the qualifications are not like, there's no minimum qualifications required. So sometimes they elect tow truck drivers to be the ME. They elect like plumbers to be the ME. They elect funeral directors to be the ME. People who are not qualified to make decisions on what type of, like what happened here, what transpired. So typically they see a body hanging, it's black. They see blunt force trauma or signs of it. And then they come out and they say no foul play. And the problem is, when the ME at the scene declares it a suicide or something like that, that prevents homicide from coming in and doing necessary steps that they would need to do in a homicide investigation. And it's intentional. They don't want to waste resources on people who they don't deem to be important, right? So when black people keep getting found hanging from trees right now, we all know black people don't hang themselves from trees. This is the trend that we're seeing under this kind of MAGA overarching umbrella that we're seeing. It's from the top down. The top doesn't care about us. We're not their priority. We're on their list. So every agency below them is kind of acting in tandem with them, right? So we see ICE doing these callous killings of people. And then what happens when it becomes a big thing and it becomes public? Trump jumps out and starts attacking the victim and basically protecting the murderers in those instances, right? He's not disclosing their addresses. He's giving them basically the green light. So the people on the lower level, state still feels like they'll be protected in the same way. And I think that's why we're seeing a rise in outrage at some of these cases. Specifically in Mississippi, there's a recent ME that came under fire. There's a case called, I think it's Damon Travion Reed or something like that. The guy was found hanging with extensive blunt force trauma. And over the objections of the family, they still went and ruled it suicide, right? So that prevented a lot of other people from getting involved, the people who would typically investigate homicides and stuff like that. So the family had to use their resources, and it's very expensive if you have to hire somebody like you see how Crump came in for the Nolan Wells case to do an independent autopsy. Normally without funding, it's almost impossible for a regular family to do that because it costs a whole lot of money. They went and found the resources to do it. And what they discovered was that there's extensive blunt force trauma on this guy. They're claiming that he just, I guess, beat himself up and hung himself from a tree so high up that there's no way for one person to have gotten up there by themselves, right? And hanged themselves with the correct force that it would take to kill you, right? So, I mean, this is the kind of stuff that we're seeing, the rise of these good old boy bureaucracies. There's two justice systems in America, like Reverend McHenry said. For us, we get the criminal just us system, right? When we are the victims of crime, we get treated in a way that only we get treated, right? Our cases get swept under the rug, treated like they're not important, and immediately ruled either suicide or accidental death, right? Or they try to, even now with Nolan Wells, we can see the writings on the wall, right? If you're wondering why they kept the throat so long and why they kept the lungs, number one, they sliced up the lungs so that there's no way for the second ME to determine whether water was already in them, right? So unless he has access to the first ME's discoveries, then he wouldn't be able to independently rule out that, like, well, the body was dead before the water. And even so, he could have been killed. He could have been knocked unconscious and knocked in the water. So even if there's no water in the lungs or something like that, that doesn't rule out homicide. But the throat, there's a certain muscle in the throat that gets crushed as soon as when somebody strangles you or something like that. So if he were strangled or there were signs of struggle, that would be something that would indicate that. From my perspective, what it looks like they're focusing on is the toxicology results, right? What they're going to say is that, well, he was drinking.
Drunk.
All of these kids were drinking, but they're going to make the quantum leap and say, well, look at the high level of alcohol that he had. It's quite possible, based on these other findings, that he simply fell off of the boat or something like that and drowned. And that's what they're going to label it, as an accidental drowning. How do you have the results for so long now and they don't want to release them to the public? And then the family is ultimately doing the right decision with the phone too, because what they would be looking for in his phone, when you have good old boys on the job, right? They're going to, instead of looking for things that were deleted or looking for evidence of what is missing from the phone, they're going to be looking to demonize Nolan, like how they do to all black kids. You know, like Trayvon Martin, he gets murdered by George Zimmerman. And instead of focusing on what George did, they're like, hey, look at a picture of Trayvon smoking weed. So they will be looking for any kind of photo in Nolan's phone from, like, if he ever smoked something or maybe he had alcohol in the picture or something like that. That picture will end up getting leaked to the public if there is not Crump's team doing the research at the same time and making sure that nothing inappropriate gets taken from the phone that shouldn't be, right? So they are making the absolute right move by making sure that they work in tandem with the district attorney's office to take the material off the phone at the same time. So kudos to them. That's the same move I would make if I were the person on the case. And yeah, that's my 2 cents. That's how I feel about this case so far.
If I could jump in.
Let me say one thing there before you start, Ron. Now, I see this as, this is Mississippi. He was obviously the only black on the island, I understand? Or one
There was one other I heard.
One other black.
He was one of two.
Now,
yep.
He's with a attractive white girl in Mississippi. Now, what do you expect to happen to him? I mean, or any other state, right? Really? Young people drinking and whatever, and chasing girls. Obviously, somebody got jealous. The friend said, Nolan would walk into a room and light it up. So he was popular, and everybody, the girls were attracted to him. So there's no problem understanding what happened to him. But this cover-up is amazing. I don't see how, well, we can see how this is Mississippi. But we're just going through the motions of finding out what happened. I don't think we'll ever find out actually what happened. Ron?
So I just, as we talk about two different systems of justice in America, it reminds me of the Jordan Neely case and Daniel Penny, of where we saw a video, and it was very evident that this ex-Marine on the subway jumps on Jordan Neely's back.
Oh, yeah,
and chokes him to death.
Yeah,
and
that was in New York.
And I was in the trial every day, during that case. And I remember how it was firstly ruled a homicide, and they hired their own private investigator to overturn that data, to say that it was data that was not adequately accrued, and that he died because of K2. They were saying that he used K2, and that's what contributed to his death, not the arm around his neck that was pressing, that was evidently in the video. And then they also talked about how he was scary, how he came on the train. Mind you, he didn't have a weapon. Mind you, he didn't say, I'm going to kill. Mind you, he didn't jump on anyone. But people were able to talk about how they felt. And that was enough to get Penny off the case and get him free. And I just, am so frustrated how they continue to run this same playbook. I just posted a picture for George Floyd. It went viral. It went on World Star and everything. Had an interview with one of the Floyd brothers, with Alonis. And he's just talking about his brother and what a wonderful athlete he was, and how he had a chain made. Someone made a chain for him. And the comments that I get every day is sickening. People are talking about fentanyl use and this and that, and not the fact that an officer stood on with his knee on George Floyd's neck for almost 10 minutes. And they will continue to try to, I don't know, there's a slogan that I grew up, kill a Negro and be a hero. And I saw Daniel Penny walk in and out of that courtroom as someone with prestige. And we know a man driving the subway doesn't have any prestige to him. But as soon as he kills one of us, he's given cars, he's given money.
Right.
And then after that case happened, he was given a job in a Fortune 500 company.
Right.
And so, this country continues to say, if you lynch one of us, we're not only going to take care of you, we're going to elevate you. And this is a dangerous narrative that we continue to see play in and play out. We still have not reached an America that is for all. I hear people talk about meritocracy, don't be judged by the content of it. But discrimination is so real that merit is still not a thing. And so we have to figure out how to break up this all-boy band in the Supreme Court, this all-boy band in the White House. And we got to really continue to tell our story as they continue to erase it. The media, and this is why the Gilchrist experience is so important. The media itself is continuing to push out a narrative against Nolan and his family. The media itself is continuing to push a narrative, even though Trump and his cabinet was found in the Epstein files, as if they're heroes. We have to find a way to continue to push our narrative. That's why I appreciate your platform, Mr. Gilchrist.
All right. Yeah, I'm going to run something that you youngsters weren't born, most of you. Run item 4, Martin Luther King. Now, this is what we're doing about in August 28th. We're going marching to Washington. And this is the original march in '63. I thought it was apropos to play it now. So play item 4, please.
Nation will rise up and live out the true meaning of its creed. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal. I have a dream that one day on the red hills of Georgia, the sons of former slaves and the sons of former slave owners will be able to sit down together at the table of brotherhood. I have a dream that one day, even the state of Mississippi, a state sweltering with the heat of injustice, sweltering with the heat of oppression, will be transformed into an oasis of freedom and justice. I have a dream that my 4 little children will one day live in a nation where they will not be judged by the color of their skin, but by the content of their character. I have a dream today I have a dream that one day down in Alabama, with its vicious racists, with its governor having his lips dripping with the words of interposition and nullification, one day right there in Alabama, little black boys and black girls will be able to join hands with little white boys and white girls as sisters and brothers. I have a dream today I have a dream that one day every valley shall be exalted, and every hill and mountain shall be made low, the rough places will be made plain, and the crooked places will be made straight, and the glory of the Lord shall be revealed, and all flesh shall see it together. This is our hope. This is a faith that I go back to the South with. With this faith, we will be able to hew out of the mountain of despair a stone of hope. With this faith, we will be able to transform the jangling discords of our nation into a beautiful symphony of brotherhood. With this faith, we will be able to work together, to pray together, to struggle together, to go to jail together, to stand up for freedom together, knowing that we will be free one day. This will be the day. This will be the day when all of God's children will be able to sing with new meaning, my country, tears of thee. Sweet land of liberty, of thee I sing. Land where my fathers died, land of the pilgrim's pride. From every mountainside, let freedom ring. And if America is to be a great nation, this must become true. And so let freedom ring. From the prodigious hilltops of New Hampshire, let freedom ring. From the mighty mountains of New York, let freedom ring. From the heightening Alleghenies of Pennsylvania, let freedom ring. From the snow-capped Rockies of Colorado, let freedom ring. From the curvaceous slopes of California. But not only that, let freedom ring from Stone Mountain of Georgia. Let freedom ring from Lookout Mountain of Tennessee. Let freedom ring from every hill and molehill of Mississippi, from every mountainside. Let freedom ring, and when this happens, when we allow freedom ring, when we let it ring from every village and every hamlet, from every state and every city, we will be able to speed up that day when all of God's children, black men and white men, Jews and Gentiles, Protestants and Catholics, will be able to join hands and sing in the words of the old Negro spiritual, free at last, free at last. Thank God Almighty, we are free at last.
That's a version of our struggle back in '63. I, at the time, was 22 years old, and I was in the Marine Corps. So I had no idea what was going on. I mean, so this is like what happened after that march. All this, 250,000 people in 1963 gathered together to protest, and there were movie stars there. There was this a high-profile affair to listen to a man tell us how America's supposed to be, how it should be. People dealing with it's emotional because I was a kid back then, and I was in the Marine Corps, which is full of crackers. I mean, it's a Southern organization. I mean, the dumbest crackers you want to know join the Marine Corps. I mean, that's a fact. At least back then. Then, I don't know, it's different now. We're talking about 1963, and in the South. But 4 weeks after this march, Birmingham, 4 little girls were bombed or killed in a church after a march like this. Now that's the result of racism in its purest form. So as a youngster, how does that hit you? Is that one of the few times that you've seen that actual original?
Yeah,
I think
I want to, let me jump in because I'm going to head out after this. Thanks, Reverend Ron. Appreciate it. All right. So, because, yeah, I'm only on for a little bit. So, I love Dr. King, and I love what he stood for, and I love all the change that he's made in this country. He really did change the minds of a good percentage of the United States, right?
Yeah.
But there's always those people sitting, lying, planning, and waiting to try and come for their backlash. Some of the people in America have not changed since then. Ever since King shifted the dynamic of this country and allowed us to be accepted on a certain level and put the dream in everyone else's mind to where we did hold hands with certain people and everything like that, there have been the people on the other side. They are the MAGA people, right? They say America, make America great again. That's dog whistle. The time when they thought America was great was before King came along with the dream. They don't want us to have the dream, right? They have a whole different dream for the country. The dream that they have for the country is to get rid of everything that makes us equal, to put us back as second-class citizens, and restore black people have no rights that white people are bound to respect, right? Dred Scott. So they have done that from every level, put that Uncle Tom, Clarence Thomas on the court, along with those other racists, the 6 racists that they have on the Supreme Court right now, to radically change the law back to pre-1965, right? They understand the assignment. They've already dismantled the Voting Rights Act. They've already dismantled a lot of the protections that Dr. King fought to put in place. They've already shifted the Civil Rights Division, right? Remember, Dr. King fought for civil rights to protect black and brown people from discrimination because they needed it, right? Now they have shifted the goal of the Civil Rights Division to be like, okay, well, you need to protect white people's rights. This is here, any white people that are the victims of discrimination become at the forefront of the Civil Rights Division now. So we're seeing like a 360. For some reason, the dreamers fell asleep at the wheel in this election and the election in 2016. And the dream killers are the ones making all the progress right now.
Yeah.
A lot of our
Yeah.
progress
Yeah.
is being rolled back,
Yeah.
and that's what happens when people don't come out to vote. That's why it is so important for this march on the 28th to bring awareness to voting rights, right? That's one of the things that Dr. King did. He shook up the collective consciousness of the United States and let black people know how much power they have when they come together. John Lewis, everybody else from that movement found a way to make a way out of no way. Remember, when they came to the table, we had no rights that people were bound to respect. We had no civil rights. We had no voting rights. We had nothing. And they found a way to make all of that happen with no social media, no cell phone, no nothing like that. They didn't even have secure bus rides, like how we have buses taking us to Washington for free right now. Everybody had to find their way. They got their brown bags. They couldn't stop to use the restroom anywhere, and they still made it happen. We're not doing enough today to change the way that things are. And I'm going to say that things are bad now, right? The way that, like he gave the example of the Daniel Penny case. Well, I can think of like the Bernard Goetz case where people were getting away with a lot more even back in the 80s, right? Bernard Goetz, by today's account, would be like a serial killer. He killed a bunch of little kids for asking him for a quarter to use the machine, right? Except because of the just white supremacy and the way that they looked at black people back in those days, it was like, oh, you killed some black thugs on the train. You're a hero. Killed some little 10-year-olds. Cowering for their lives. He turned back and shot one of them and crippled them, right? And he was cowering, right? This guy got off for that and had to do some time for a gun. And they're looking at him like he's Charles Bronson, a hero or something like that, right? I mean, we've come a long way from that, but we still have a good ways to go. They can't keep ignoring all of these black people hanging from trees around the country right now, right? And they keep hanging them in public locations. You can't tell me that doesn't coincide with this whole MAGA movement that we have going on right now. It's very important to disrupt what they have going on. Right now, they're disrupting a lot of progress. They're disrupting a lot of our rights. And our side is not really standing up and doing what we need to do. Just like how we found a way back in the 60s, we need to revisit that spirit. And we need to find another way to restore everything that they've broken so far and to disrupt their progress. And that way so far is going to be take the House and take the Senate back. Thanks for your time, Mr. Gilchrist. I'm about to head out. All right. Thanks for having me.
Peace and love, Attorney Daniel.
All right. Peace and love, brother.
Ron, before I want to put this last one in, and I want you to give a sermon afterwards. It's Martin Luther King's last sermon.
You want me to give a sermon?
All we say to America is be true to what you said on paper. If I lived in China or even Russia or any totalitarian country, maybe I could understand some of these illegal injunctions. Maybe I could understand the denial of certain basic First Amendment privileges because they haven't committed themselves to that over there. But somewhere I read of the freedom of assembly. Somewhere I read of the freedom of speech. Somewhere I read of the freedom of press. Somewhere I read that the greatness of America is the right to protest far right. And so just as I say we aren't going to let any dogs or water hoses turn us around, we aren't going to let any injunction turn us around. Well, I don't know what will happen now. We've got some difficult days ahead. But it really doesn't matter with me now because I've been to the mountaintop. Like anybody, I would like to live a long life. Longevity has its place. But I'm not concerned about that now. I just want to do God's will. And He's allowed me to go up to the mountain. And I've looked over and I've seen the promised land. I may not get there with you, but I want you to know tonight that we as a people will get to the promised land. So I'm happy tonight. I'm not worried about anything. I'm not fearing any man. Mine eyes have seen the glory of the coming of the Lord.
We keep the faith. That's our message. That's my message for today. What do you think of that, Ron?
I think that when you know you have the victory, because the one who came and did the work 2,026 years ago talked about a kingdom of heaven and a kingdom that was just, a kingdom that was about righteousness, a kingdom that respected all of us. We know the kingdom of heaven is close by. And that's why it doesn't matter who's in the White House. It doesn't matter if it's Trump. As long as God sits on the throne, as long as I got my Jesus, I know that we are going to, even though we're in dark days now, if we continue to fight through the night, we'll see a brighter morning. You know, the life and legacy of Dr. King is one that we can aspire to, and other freedom fighters like Frederick Douglass and Harriet Tubman, they've seen worse days than what we're fighting right now. So if we keep the faith, we can get to where we need to go. When we talked about the March on Washington in 1963, you said you were 20 years old. It was a march for jobs and freedom, right? And a lot of the echoes are today for the same thing: for civil rights, for jobs, for affordability, and that vision was put together by A. Philip Randolph.
Right.
But A. Philip Randolph is not the one who organized the March on Washington. It was Bayard Rustin. And he was the principal organizer, and he brought together the Big Six. So A. Philip Randolph, who was with the Brotherhood of Sleeping Car Porters. We got Roy Wilkins from the NACP. You got Whitney Young from the National Urban League. You got Dr. King from the Southern Christian Leadership Conference. You had James Farmer from the Congress of Racial Equity. You have John Lewis from SNCC. And as important as the march was.
Ron, excuse me, I hate to interrupt you. We got 2 minutes, and I want you to talk about what's happening today. Going to
Washington. I mean, you can't talk about today without referencing yesterday.
Yeah, right.
And I think that, so we are bringing together all of the main organizations on August 28th. But you know, we can talk about all the accomplishments of those before us, but the March of 1963 and the bombing of the church in Birmingham, those girls dying, led to the Civil Rights Act.
That's
happening.
it.
And it also led to the voting rights.
And that, we lost Juan? Did we lose Ron?
With respect to black culture, there is one person who has been doing this for decades. He has been supporting our communities. He's been fighting for our communities in the trenches. He's a fighter, he's a civil rights icon, and he's a visionary. The Reverend Al Sharpton.
Thank you. Right now in Washington, D.C., they're having on the National Mall the celebration of July 4th. But what they will not talk about is on July 4th, 1776, black people were slaves in this country. We were not part of the Declaration of Independence. But we celebrate tonight because 250 years later, we never stopped fighting, we never backed down, we took nothing
make something happen, if you want to celebrate something, celebrate that we built this nation on our backs and never got paid. They sing America the beautiful. We made America beautiful. They say America the great. We made America the great. And we fought and we bled and we died to get the right to vote. And now Trump and them are trying to take that right. We fought too hard. We spent too many nights in jail. We gonna vote like we never voted before. Today, a group called the Patriots marched in Washington with Confederate flags. Well, on August 28th, Martin Luther King III and I are having a march in Washington on the day his father gave down the dream speech. I want everybody to be there. We're going to stand up and show the dignity of our people. We're going to show that we are going to never back down. We won't bend, buckle, no matter what they do in the Supreme Court. We're going to win in the court of appeal. Let me say this. Don't take for granted that you're here tonight. They tried to, in every way they could, criticize Essex, criticize Rich New Dennis, but they don't understand that the harder you hit us, the harder we fight back. We're the children of people that took nothing and made something happen. You can't beat us down. You can't turn us around. We will be the essence of what happens in our culture. I've been at every Essex festival since 1995. I came that year with my mentor, and we spoke. Well, he died in February of this year, but I want to continue what he taught us, because even when times look bad, even when they look dark, I remember what my mentor taught me, Reverend Jesse Jackson. He said, keep hope alive. Even if you can't figure it out, keep hope alive. Even if it doesn't look like you can make it, keep hope alive. In memory of Jesse Jackson, say that with me tonight. Let him know on July 4th from New Orleans, keep hope alive. 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 Thank you. God bless you. Thank you. Make some noise for the legend.
Hear from the man himself. One of his most iconic speeches was his 1988 speech at the Democratic National Convention in Atlanta. It was the second unsuccessful run for the Democratic nomination for president, losing out to the Massachusetts governor, Michael Dukakis. But the speech went down in history.
Story. I wasn't always on television. Writers were not always outside my door. When I was born late one afternoon, October 8th, in Greenville, South Carolina, no writers asked my mother her name. Nobody chose to write down our address. A mama was not supposed to make it, and I was not supposed to make it. You see, I was born a teenage mother who was born a teenage mother. I understand. I know abandonment and people being mean to you and saying you're nothing and nobody and can never be anything. I understand. Jesse Jackson is my third name. I'm adopted. When I had no name, my grandmother gave me her name. My name was Jesse Burns till I was 12. So I wouldn't have a blank space, she gave me a name. to hold me over. I understand when nobody knows your name. I understand when you have no name. I understand. I wasn't born in the hospital. Mama didn't have insurance. I was born in the bed at house. I really do understand. Born in a 3-room house, bathroom in the backyard, slop job by the bed, no hot and cold running water. I understand. Wallpaper used for decoration? No, for a windbreaker. I understand. I'm a working person's person. That's why I understand you, whether you're black or white. I understand work. I was not born with a silver spoon in my mouth. I had a shovel programmed for my hand. My mother, a working woman. Some of the days she went to work early, with runs in her stockings. She knew better, but she rolled runs in her stockings so that my brother and I could have matching socks and not be laughed at school. I understand. At 3 o'clock on Thanksgiving Day, we couldn't eat turkey because Mama was preparing somebody else's turkey at 3 o'clock. We had to play football to entertain ourselves. And then around 6 o'clock, she would get off the Alta Vista bus, and we would bring up the leftovers and eat our turkey, leftovers, the caucus, the cranberries, around 8 o'clock at night. I really do understand. Every one of these funny labels they put on you, those of you who are watching this broadcast tonight in the projects, on the corners, I understand. Call you outcast, low down, you can't make it, you're nothing, you're from nobody, subclass, underclass. When you see Jesse Jackson, when my name goes in nomination, your name goes in nomination. I was born in the slum, but the slum was not born in me. And it wasn't born in you, and you can make it. Wherever you are tonight, you can make it. Hold your head high. Stick your chest out. You can make it. It gets dark sometimes, but the morning comes. Don't you surrender. Suffering breeds character. Character breeds faith. In the end, faith will not disappoint. You must not surrender. You may or may not get there, but just know that you're qualified, and you hold on and hold out. We must never surrender. America will get better and better. Keep hope alive. Keep hope alive. Keep hope alive. On tomorrow night and beyond. Keep hope alive. I love you very much.
From. I want to let me say at the outset that when I received the word of what happened to Nolan and began hearing what was pieced together, it is clear that this situation must have the most thorough and objective investigation to lead to justice. What we've been told does not make sense. And being that there is lack of confidence in the local authorities, who have already, in my judgment, seemed to have mishandled where it was going, because to just immediately, before a week time, saying there was nothing done wrong, when we hear that this young man was engaged in some kind of argument that was on tape, that his cell phone and keys ended up with one of the people that were there on the island and got away. He was one black with 3 young white men who happened to end up with his phone, happened to end up with his keys. Then there's just too many questions that they should not be closing the investigation. Now, I'm from Brooklyn, so I'm a little different than some of y'all. I was built different. My nose is out here, my eyes are here, my brain is here, which means some things I could smell before I could see and before I can figure out. This does not smell right. So some people are saying, Reverend, are y'all bringing in race? Well, we're not bringing in race, but we're not discounting race either, because we don't know what it is. So to tell us don't rush to judgment saying it was racist is fine. But then I'm telling you, don't rush to judgment saying it was not racism, because we do not know. We do know what these parents are being told, and what the parents have now shared with us does not make sense. How do you end up a young, promising football player, not in trouble, mother and daddy at home, everything we tell them to do and be? They go on the 4th of July, on the anniversary of this country, going to an island, we're outing with his friends, and the friends come back, and he's left there with some story about, he said, leave them behind. But then by some magic, one of the friends has his keys and his phone. Mind you, his mother tracked down the phone. They didn't voluntarily tell her they had his phone. They didn't voluntarily say they had the keys. So if they had not been tracked down, we don't know if they ever would have known where it was. Some of this doesn't make sense. So we are absolutely in National Action Network and other groups going to rally behind this family. I have told them that whatever we can and need to do, we will do it, because this smacks of some of the worst fears that we've had historically, not only in Mississippi, but in this country. And we are there until the end with them. I've been asked by the family to be in Mississippi for the funeral to officiate, which I'm going to do. We just got off the phone with Tyler Perry, the actor who says he wants to help cover whatever expenses for the funeral. We have with us Spike Lee is in the house. Many of our people that have always supported families are there. This is not about them trying to raise money. We're going to take care of that. This is about, though, they got to keep going forward. But we want justice. And let the chips fall where they may. If it ends up being one way that we suspect was wrong, fine. But if it's another way, don't back up and play games with this. They are not activists or lawyers. So they only want justice for their son. I'm an activist. When we get there and they say we heating things up, that's what we do. Because sometimes you got to make people sweat to get the poison out their system. I'm the sweat man. And they are the parents that want to see justice for their son.
What our basic problem is as a people. Really, Lynch syndromes, that's exactly what it is. We're divided and conquered. We want to show you what's behind all this, who's manipulating the media and who's really teaching our kids. The God in me loves the God in you.